In the heart of a quiet village, where the rhythm of life is usually dictated by the seasons and the simple pursuits of farming, a storm was brewing. It was a storm not of nature, but of human desperation and fractured trust, threatening to rip apart the very fabric of a family. The persistent knocking on Mrs. Sung Tien's door was not a friendly greeting, but the harbinger of a looming financial reckoning. "Are you home?" A woman's voice, taut with frustration, cut through the morning air. "If you don't pay me today, I won't go home. I'll sit here and wait." The words hung heavy, a public declaration of debt that shattered any pretense of peace. Inside, the tension was palpable. Hang, a young man burdened beyond his years, watched his mother's face crumple. "Mom, did you borrow money from your sister?" he asked, his voice laced with a mixture of anger and weariness. The quiet affirmation from his mother, a silent nod, was all it took for Hang's frustration to erupt. "Yes. If you want to borrow, just say so. Get the money to pay for her." His tone was sharp, his patience clearly exhausted. This wasn't the first time. The shadow of debt had long loomed over their humble existence, a chronic ailment that sapped their energy and eroded their familial bonds. "I'm really tired of this family," he muttered, the words escaping like a sigh. The weight of his mother's financial missteps was crushing, forcing him into a constant state of anxiety, perpetually wondering when the next crisis would strike. He yearned for stability, a life free from the relentless cycle of borrowing and avoiding. "Let's see how it goes and then go home and stay," he tried to reassure himself, a fragile hope clinging to the promise of a distant, more peaceful future. The mundane task of going to buy fish, a simple act of daily sustenance, felt like an insurmountable hurdle in the face of such overwhelming stress. Hours later, the sun beat down, a relentless reminder of the day's slow crawl. Hang returned, his arms laden with fresh produce. "Where did you come back from? Did you cut leaves? Did you get a lot of leaves? A bag? Count how many there are." His questions to an unseen companion were a desperate attempt to cling to the ordinary, to find some semblance of control in a world spiraling out of it. The act of preparing for a meal, a simple ritual, was infused with a desperate longing for normalcy. "What beautiful fish, right? Baby fish. It looks like a perch, right? Just let it go. This one is big, right?" His voice, attempting lightness, couldn't quite mask the underlying anxiety. He instructed, "Honey, get a knife to make a shield and put it over there." The tasks were practical, grounded in the realities of survival, a stark contrast to the abstract, destabilizing force of debt. "Get the knife. Is that okay, honey? That place is too steep. You do it here, I'll go get a hoe to dig." The focus on building a fish pond, a symbol of future provision, was almost tragically ironic against the backdrop of their impending financial ruin. "Maybe we'll dig on the other side, right? I'll finish weaving and bring it over here. I'll pull up the straw roots and cover it up here." His vision was clear. "I'll release fish into this field and in about 1 to 2 months, we'll be able to take it down and sell it. When that time comes, I'll take it down for you to sell." It was a plan rooted in hope, a tangible strategy to generate income, a desperate struggle against the encroaching tide of destitution. But the immediate, gnawing reality was hunger. "Are you hungry yet? I'm hungry too. What should we do now? Mom is hungry now." The simple, fundamental need for food became another unbearable weight. "I want to go pick food but I don't dare to go to work." The mother, meanwhile, was trapped in a suffocating cycle of fear and desperation. The creditor's presence outside was an invisible cage. "What should I do if I can't go out? Is it okay to stay closed like this? Is that okay?" "It's not a way, Mom." Her voice was a fragile whisper, laced with panic. "Now that I'm so hungry, should I go find something to cook? Do I dare to go buy it? I don't dare to go buy it. I'm afraid of seeing my sister from yesterday again. So what should I do now? Or should I go to the store to buy some food to eat? The simplest act of daily life, buying groceries, was now fraught with peril. The very thought of encountering the creditor again paralyzed her. The anxiety was relentless, eating away at her from the inside. I don't dare go anywhere, I'm afraid of meeting your creditors, so what should I do? What should I do? Now I'll probably go pick some vegetables to eat, right? But there was a deeper, more profound terror gripping Mrs. Sung Tien. It wasn't just a small debt to her sister. It was a far larger, more catastrophic sum, the result of a disastrous investment. Her voice trembled as she confessed, "But have you found your friend yet?" "I can't call you, Mom. Since this morning, I've been calling and calling, so they must have put me on their blacklist." "What should I do now?" "It's definitely gone." "I don't know either. I've been scammed." The confession was a torrent of despair. "If I've been scammed, what should I do this time? The amount of money is a lot of money. Now I can't get that money. How can I redeem the house I'm living in?" The house, their home, their sanctuary, was at stake. The very foundation of their security was crumbling. "If my son finds out about the house, it's going to be miserable. Do some research to see how to call him or find him." The panic was raw, primal. The fear of Hang discovering the extent of her folly, the potential loss of their home, was a burden almost too heavy to bear. The story began to unravel, exposing the layers of deception and naive ambition. "If I can't get that money to redeem the house this time, my son knows there's nothing I can do. I don't know what to do either. I can't call him and I don't know where to find him. When I get to his house, there's no one home and I don't know if that's his house or not. I only met him when I went to work downstairs." The friend she'd entrusted her life savings to had vanished, leaving her in a perilous vacuum of uncertainty. Then, the blame shifted, a common defense mechanism in times of crisis. "It's all because of you," she accused, turning to her daughter-in-law, Tao, who was also hiding nearby. "If you didn't tell me to invest a lot, why would I sell the house to invest in it? Now I can't get it, what should I do? I have to get it for you. Now I don't know what to do anymore." The dynamics of the scam, a familiar pattern in emerging markets, became chillingly clear. These schemes, often disguised as high-yield investments or multi-level marketing, prey on the aspirations of the financially vulnerable, promising astronomical returns that defy economic logic. Expert analyses from organizations like the World Bank often highlight how such scams proliferate in areas with limited financial literacy, weak regulatory oversight, and a desperate populace yearning for a shortcut to prosperity. The promise of quick wealth, especially for those struggling day-to-day, can be an intoxicating siren song, blinding victims to the obvious red flags. In this case, Tao, the daughter-in-law, had become the conduit for this false hope. Before, when he was able to invest, he kept asking me to invest. I saw him give me money, but I didn't invest directly. He kept urging me to invest with him. When I saw him give me money to use, I liked it and felt happy. I came back and told my mother to invest with me." Tao's account, full of self-exculpation, painted a picture of herself as a mere intermediary, lured by the same deceptive promises. The initial small payouts, the classic proof that the investment was real, had cemented her belief, drawing her deeper into the web. This is a common tactic: small, timely returns at the outset build trust, encouraging larger, more significant investments. This psychological manipulation, often coupled with a sense of urgency or exclusivity, disarms potential victims. "Now that I invested a lot of money, he took the money and ran away. I don't know what to do. At first, I invested a little, but they didn't let me." The pressure to invest more, to truly capitalize on the opportunity, was immense. I told you to invest a little, I told my mother to invest a lot, a few $100 million. I would get more than $2 billion, so my mother sold the house to invest. What should I do? I have to find that guy to get the money for my mother. The scale of the deception was staggering, a few $100 million invested for a promised $2 billion, a return so fantastical it should have raised immediate alarms. But for Mrs. Sung Tien, blinded by the dream of escaping poverty and securing her family's future, it was irresistible. The decision to sell their house, the ultimate sacrifice, was a testament to the powerful allure of the scam. I didn't know that he would be like this. He got a lot of money, then he got sick and ran away. What should I do? People get cheated like this. At first, if I give a little, it's not worth it, so I don't cheat them. If I give a lot, won't they cheat me? Now I'm broke. What should I do? Now my son knows, it's miserable. Now I don't know what to do anymore. The daughter-in-law's sudden realization of their destitution, her lament about being broke, felt hollow against the backdrop of Mrs. Sung Tien's despair. The financial entanglement had become a toxic knot, binding them together in mutual recrimination. I can't get the money this time. It's not just me who's worried. I'm also implicated. Because you took the money to invest. Mrs. Sung Tien, caught in the undertow, was fighting for her own survival, shifting the blame back. Who told me to like money too much? I listened to everything you said and then invested a lot of money. Now you come back to blame me? When you talk about money, everyone likes it. The raw, human desire for wealth, for a better life, had been expertly exploited. But I told you to invest a little, but you keep telling me to invest a lot, otherwise I won't sell the house. The desperate attempts to assign blame highlighted the catastrophic breakdown of trust within the family. Okay, let's stop arguing now. When we find your friend, we'll talk to him to get the money back to redeem the house. Sitting here talking back and forth won't solve anything. What you said is right. But you have to find that guy to get that money. Yes, I know. There is also my money. Now it is all up to you. You have to get it. The daughter-in-law, for all her purported innocence, was now being held responsible, her own financial future intertwined with this devastating fraud. The argument ended, not in resolution, but in a weary truce. A temporary cessation of hostilities forced by the overwhelming threat of hunger and the looming presence of the creditor outside. Okay, I won't say much more. Mom is hungry now. Mom, go get a basket of vegetables to eat. Yes. After eating, I will go see how it is. Yes. Mom, go. Be careful and watch out for your creditor. If you don't meet her, we won't have money to pay her. Yes. The fear, the constant threat of confrontation, made even the simple act of foraging for food a risky endeavor. Meanwhile, outside, the creditor, Mrs. Hang, not Hang, the son, but a different individual, likely a close friend or sister of Sung Tien, was not about to give up. Her patience was wearing thin, replaced by a growing anger and a sense of betrayal. She had left her vehicle some distance away, hoping to catch Mrs. Sung Tien off guard. Let's just leave the car here. When Grandma heard the sound of my car, she ran away again. Yesterday, she knew I came back to collect debt, so she ran away. Now I must have left the car here. Let's go see if Grandma is home. Are you home? Me? Her frustration escalated as she realized she was being deliberately avoided. Uncle, why did you run? Uncle, open the door. I know you are home. Uncle, why did you lock the door? Open the door so I can talk. The polite requests quickly gave way to accusations. Uncle, aren't you going to pay me? Why don't you open the door so I can talk? Yesterday you told me to go home to get fake money from you. Why did you run away? If you don't open the door, I'll call the police. The threat of legal action, a significant escalation, underscored her desperation. For a creditor, resorting to law enforcement is a last resort, often signaling not just a financial loss, but a deep wound to personal trust. Uncle Jim? You're in the house, but you deliberately didn't open the door for me. You're an adult, why are you behaving like that? I trusted you, so I lent you money. Now you're doing this to me. I don't have money to lend you like that. I don't have money to import goods for me to sell. I trust you very much. We're brothers in the village, so I lent you money. Her words painted a picture of violated trust, a betrayal within a close-knit community where personal relationships often served as collateral for informal loans. Such interpersonal lending is common in many developing economies, filling gaps left by formal banking sectors. However, it relies heavily on social capital and mutual respect, which were now rapidly eroding. The inability to collect the debt directly impacted her own livelihood, preventing her from replenishing her inventory for her business. This wasn't just about recovering money, it was about the ripple effect on her economic stability and her belief in the integrity of her neighbors. Now you're doing this to me. I saw you run into the house. Open the door for me. You can't hide forever. I know you're in the house, but you don't open the door for me. Uncle Jim? Open the door for me so I can come in and talk. Inside, Mrs. Sung Tien was paralyzed. I don't have money to pay, what can I pay with? Now I don't have any money. If I had, I would have paid her, but I don't have any money. If I don't have any money, what should I do? I've been here all day and I don't even dare to go out. The shame and helplessness were overwhelming. Her life had been reduced to a desperate game of hide and seek. Uncle Tien, if you don't pay me today, I won't go home. I'll sit here and wait. If you don't open the door to talk or pay me, I won't go home. I'll sit here at the door. Mrs. Hang's resolve was unwavering. This lady probably wants to escape her debt. We'll sit here and wait for a while to see what happens. Will she open the door for us? The standoff continued, a grim testament to the irreconcilable positions. Mrs. Sung Tien, trapped, could only ponder her predicament. Now, if I just sit at the door and wait, what should I do? I don't know either. If I had any money, I would have taken it to pay the rest, but I don't. I invested all the money, and now my friend can't call me. What else can I do? What should I do? She's sitting right outside the door. How can she get money to pay me back? What should I do? I'm so hungry. The immediate physiological need for food clashed brutally with the existential threat of financial ruin. The absence of the scammer, the friend who had orchestrated her downfall, amplified her desperation. There was no recourse, no one to turn to for the vast sum she had lost, let alone the smaller debt to her sister. Mrs. Hang's voice, now tinged with weariness but still firm, pierced through the silence. She's probably still there. Uncle Sung Tien, will you open the door for me? My money isn't for you to spend carelessly. I trust you, that's why I lent it to you. Now you do that to me again? You said you would borrow money for 2 days, but it has been 8, 9, or 10 days and you have not yet taken the money from me. Now I am looking for you and you are hiding like this? Open the door for me. The exasperation was palpable. The broken promise of a 2-day loan stretching into an indefinite period was a profound breach of faith. I trusted you so I lent you money, but now you are doing this to me? You ran away again. Are you planning to default on the debt? Are you planning to not pretend to be me? Yesterday you said you would go home to get the money from me, but you ran away from the debt. I couldn't find you. If you don't pretend to be me today, I will definitely not go anywhere. I will sit here and wait. The creditor was willing to endure hunger and discomfort, her determination fueled by a sense of injustice and the very real threat to her own livelihood. She proposed a practical, albeit humiliating, Solution: open the door for me to see if there is anything in the house so you can put the debt on me so I can get the money back and continue to do business. But you have owed me for so long. See if there is anything in the house to sell for money. You can put the debt on me, Uncle Tien. The offer to take possessions in lieu of cash was a desperate measure, an acknowledgement of the severity of the situation. The other day when I borrowed money from you, you said that in 2 days you would pay both the principal and interest. Now I don't need your interest anymore. You can just pay the principal for me, my child. The abandonment of the interest payment was a gesture of concession, a plea for at least the principal to be returned. Inside, Mrs. Sung Tien clung to her last shred of defiant hope. Now it's just here like this. I don't dare open the door, let it be. It's sitting here. Now there's only one way. Now if I open the door, I won't have any money to give you. Now I'll just have to endure hunger here. You're right. Now I'll just have to endure hunger. Leave it alone. Sit and wait to see who's better. This is my house. I'll just sit here comfortably, let it be. Let it be. It was a desperate gamble, a test of wills. She believed that given enough time, the creditor would eventually give up. But Mrs. Hang, displaying an unexpected shift, softened her stance, perhaps swayed by the practicalities of waiting indefinitely or by a glimmer of lingering empathy. Now I'll wait here without you opening the door, it's not good. Mrs. Sung Tien? Now if you don't open the door for me, I'll go home first. You see how to arrange it. You pay me tomorrow. If not, I'll come back tomorrow to look for you.
Yes.
Do you hear me? The ultimatum was clear: pay tomorrow, or the cycle of pursuit would begin anew. Inside, Mrs. Sung Tien breathed a sigh of relief, though still cautious. I think we have to go home first and see what happens, my child. It can't sit for long, it just sits for a while and then leaves, and it can't wait. Her interpretation of the creditor's departure was one of victory, however temporary. Now that it's gone, I'll be hungry so I'll find some vegetables to eat. But now that it's gone, I probably won't dare go out yet. Don't go out now. Wait a little longer. Otherwise, what if she tricked me while I was waiting outside? That's right. You're right. Mom is hungry so she's planning to leave now. Mom, try to bear with it a little longer. The fear of a trap, of the creditor lying in wait, was a constant, gnawing anxiety. Meanwhile, Mrs. Hang, frustrated but determined, decided on a different course of action. Now I don't know what to do. If I go to collect the debt, she'll just close the door like this. This is probably not a good way. I think I have to report to the police and ask the government to intervene in this matter to see if I can get back 10 million. At this rate, I'm afraid I'll lose 10 million for nothing. The decision to involve the authorities was a significant step, moving the conflict from a personal dispute to a legal one. This action highlighted the limitations of informal justice systems and the eventual need for formal legal intervention when trust completely breaks down. It also underscored the sheer desperation of Mrs. Hang, who stood to lose a substantial sum that was critical to her livelihood. The 10 million she spoke of, a significant amount in local terms, represented not just a loss of profit, but a direct threat to her ability to conduct her business and sustain her family. The legal route, while often slow and cumbersome, offered the only path to potential recovery and a formal resolution to a situation that had become deeply entrenched in deception and evasion. Narrator: the narrative of debt, evasion, and betrayal was about to take a critical turn. Unbeknownst to Mrs. Sung Tien, her son Hang was on duty, working in a capacity that placed him in direct contact with the community, including those who sought assistance from the authorities. His sister, Mrs. Hang, driven by desperation, arrived at his workplace, seeking official intervention. "Me? Are you on duty today?" she inquired, surprised to find him there. "Yes, please sit down." Do you have something to do here? I also have some work. What is it? Tell me. Hang's polite professionalism belied the storm brewing in his personal life. A storm he was about to discover had intensified dramatically. My mother also borrowed some money from you, 10 million. The words hung in the air, a shocking revelation. Hang's own mother, caught in another web of deceit. My mother said she borrowed it for her daughter-in-law to invest in something. My mother borrowed money from you. Yes. But now she hasn't paid it back. 10 million. That's right. Mrs. Hang recounted the familiar pattern of evasion. I also said I wouldn't give it to her because I was afraid she would do something bad, but she kept saying she took it to invest in something and then came back 2 days later to send me the principal and interest. It's been 9 or 10 days now. I haven't seen her come yet. Yesterday I also met her but she ran away and she denied it, so today I came here to explain to the officer. Luckily I met you again, so I'll explain it to you too. Hang, trying to maintain composure, process this information. How long has your mother borrowed 10 million? It's been 9 or 10 days even today. What did your mother borrow the money for? Did your mother say clearly what she borrowed it for? He pressed for details, searching for logic in his mother's irrational financial decisions. He said he was investing in something. He said he got a high interest rate. He said 10 million invested, he got 40 million or something. Then he said he borrowed from me for 2 days. Then he came back to pay the principal and interest. The astronomical returns quoted by his mother, promising 40 million from a 10 million investment, immediately signaled the hallmarks of a classic Ponzi scheme. Financial experts and regulatory bodies worldwide consistently warn against get-rich-quick promises, noting that such disproportionate returns are almost always indicators of fraud. The promise of immediate repayment of principal and interest after a short term is another common tactic used to build false confidence before the grand swindle. Mrs. Hang continued, elaborating on her efforts to collect the debt. Yesterday, I also felt it was too long. I was afraid he would not remember or something. He did not see him take the money to send me to import goods, so I also went downstairs. When I went downstairs, I did not see him at home. I saw someone strange there. So I went to your house and accidentally met your grandmother right on the street. When I finished talking to her, she told me to go home to get the money to send to me. But when I followed her home, she ran away and I could not find her anymore. This pattern of evasion, the outright flight from responsibility, confirmed Mrs. Sung Tien's chronic avoidance. Then, a chilling realization dawned on Hang. No wonder the past few days I kept seeing your mother coming into your house. She always wore a nice dress and then put on makeup and said she had earned a lot of money recently. The pieces of the puzzle began to click into place, forming a disturbing picture. His mother's sudden display of wealth, her unusual vanity, were not signs of legitimate success, but rather the facade of a deeper deception. So it turned out that your mother borrowed money from me. I heard your mother said she took the money to invest. So I also do not know what your mother invested in. Hang's sister, sensing his growing disbelief, offered a harsh, but accurate, assessment of their mother's character. Sister, your mother does not know anything about investing. Your mother's personality is to borrow money to spend lavishly. I also saw that after the uncle begged, I also saw that he was an acquaintance of mine, someone from my village, so I also trusted him and lent him. I thought that he would return it to me in 2 days, but until today, I haven't seen him take it back to give to me. What should I do now? Your mother only borrows money to go shopping, but she doesn't know how to make money. Does she invest? Probably not, because I know your mother doesn't know how to invest in anything. She's just lazy and good at eating, but other than that and playing around, there's no need to say. The brutal honesty stripped away any remaining illusions. Mrs. Sung Tien was not a shrewd investor, but a spendthrift, easily swayed by the promise of easy money, and lacking the discipline for genuine financial management. The daughter-in-law's involvement was then brought into focus. That day, I heard my uncle say that he gave it to his daughter-in-law to invest. I don't know if it's the daughter-in-law or the second daughter-in-law. I heard that he gave it to his daughter-in-law to invest, and he got a very high return. Mrs. Hang reiterated her desperate attempts to collect the debt. This morning, I also went to your house, your small house, and I saw her inside, but she closed the door and locked it. I told her to open the door so I could come in and talk, but she didn't open the door. It seemed like she was trying to avoid her debt. Now I don't know how to get the money, so I came here. Luckily, I met you here. I hope you can find a way to get her to send the money back to me. I don't want to make a big deal out of it because we're all in the village and our acquaintances. I trust you too. Her appeal to Hang was deeply personal, invoking their shared community ties and the trust she had placed in his family. Hang, now fully grasping the gravity of the situation, acknowledged his mother's recurring financial irresponsibility. Yes. I forgot to tell you before, but I told you about the other places. I told you that if you see my mother asking to borrow money, I won't lend it to her anymore. My mother's personality is to spend money carelessly. Like the last time, we also borrowed too much to go out and have fun. Later, my husband and I also pretended for a long time to borrow money again. He saw the pattern, the cycle of borrowing and avoiding. Sister, why don't you follow me upstairs and then meet my mother to talk so I can conveniently ask her what she borrowed money for? So let's go upstairs and ask her how it is. Sister, follow me. Hang made a decisive move, preparing to confront his mother directly. Back at the house, Mrs. Sung Jian and her daughter-in-law, Tao, were still in hiding, consumed by hunger and fear. Don't you feel hungry? I'm just normally hungry. That's it. I don't know if my mother's creditor has left or not. We've been lying here waiting for almost an hour, so she's probably gone. Yes, it's probably gone for a long time, but I'm still worried, afraid it's sitting on the road. It's been so long, who knows if it's still sitting? Or is it gone? Let's see if it's gone yet. Or should I go out and pick vegetables to cook? But I'm scared. It's probably not here anymore, it's probably gone somewhere. I'm still young and can run fast. Mom is old and I'm afraid she won't be able to run fast enough. The terror of discovery, even for a simple meal, underscored their extreme vulnerability. Tao, in a moment of youthful bravado mixed with desperation, offered to venture out. Or should I go? But I'm also scared, so what? Or should I hold on a little longer, Mom? Can't hold it anymore. I'm so hungry. Are you so hungry? Then go ahead. Go see. Go look while walking next to the house. Let me go see. Okay, go ahead. Mom is so hungry that I can't go. You go, remember to pay attention. Okay, go pick vegetables for Mom to eat. Mrs. Sung Tian was consumed by regret, a bitter taste in her mouth far worse than the hunger. Knowing that, I wouldn't have listened to this child before going to invest. I wasn't asked what to invest in. Now when asked what to invest in, he says he doesn't know. I invested, now I've lost all my money and I can't even go out. Now I owe people a lot of money and even sold the house and lost everything. Now I'm penniless, I have no food to eat. Listening to this child, I don't know what to do now. The devastating reality had settled in. Not only was she broken in debt, but she had lost their home. The ultimate sacrifice, made under false pretenses, had led to utter ruin. The friend who had orchestrated this elaborate scheme was now completely unreachable, a ghost in the system, leaving a trail of broken promises and shattered lives. The internal monologue continued, a spiral of fear and accusation. Or is this child planning to cheat me out of all my money? Or is that child also cheated by that guy? Where will I get all this money now? Now I don't have money to pay back and redeem the house. The house has been sold. Now the family has no home. Now I'm back here, staying at my house temporarily. But if my child finds out, I'll kick him out. I have to hide it from my child. But it can't be hidden for long. What should I do now? I have to find that guy and get that amount of money, then it's okay. It's not okay to stay like that. My son will definitely know that I can't hide it for long. Tell my child to get vegetables home to cook a full meal and then ask him to contact me to see if he's seen that guy. The desperation was palpable, clinging to the faint hope that the elusive scammer could be found, and the colossal sum recovered. The psychological toll was immense. It's not okay to go all the way to his house and not get the money. I'm too worried. I'm also too stupid to listen to people. I think it's too cool. It's also because I like money too much. I told him I'd be happy to get a lot of money. I just believed him, but it turns out I've been tricked this time. I've been set up. The self-recrimination was raw, a painful acknowledgement of her own susceptibility to greed and false promises. Then, a new wave of panic washed over her. Sound of footsteps approaching, then a familiar voice. Why did Hank come here? Why did Hank come here? I'm so worried. If Hank finds out, what should I do? I have to find a way. The approaching footsteps, and then Hank's voice, signaled the inevitable confrontation. Just now when I came here, she closed the door and wouldn't let me in. Mom, what are you doing? Why did my son come home at this hour? My son hasn't come home for a long time. Mom? I'm so scared. What are you doing that you haven't opened the door? Hank's stern questions pierced through her flimsy defenses. The confrontation was swift and uncompromising. Hank, accompanied by Mrs. Hank, forced the issue. Mom, open the door so I can come in and talk to you. Come in, sister. Why do you keep saying you're closing the door and not letting me in? What are you shushing about? Go out and sit so I can talk. Go out and sit, Mom. Come here, let me ask you something. Sit down. Mom, sit down. What are you doing? What are you doing? Mom, I'm just sleeping. Mrs. Sung Tien's pathetic attempt to feign sleep was instantly dismissed. Mom, I'm sleeping? What are you doing sleeping at this hour? Do you know it's very late? Mom, I'm just sleeping, I'm not doing anything. The interrogation began, direct and pointed. I'm asking you this, Mom. A few days ago, did you borrow money from this woman? Did you borrow money from anyone? Did you borrow money from anyone? This woman said that you borrowed money from her. No, Mom also knows we're not acquainted. Mom doesn't know. Why did you say that? Mrs. Sung Tien's denial was immediate and vehement, a desperate attempt to maintain her lie in front of her son. But Mrs. Hang was equally resolute. The other day, you clearly went to my house to borrow 10 million from me. No matter what I said, I didn't borrow money from you. I came to collect debt from you, but you still hid. Now you say you can't borrow. Don't be so fickle. Don't lie. I'm not accusing you unjustly. The creditor laid out the facts, exposing Mrs. Sung Tien's duplicity. I didn't come here to collect debt from you. You didn't borrow money from me. I trusted you, so I lent it to you. You said that 2 days later you pretended to be innocent. Principal and interest. Now I can't see the principal. I don't need the interest. I just need you to pay the principal. You forgot. You can't borrow money from anyone. Why do you say that? Now Hang is here. Now you say that. The presence of her son clearly amplified Mrs. Sung Tien's shame and fear, making her denials even more frantic. Hang, increasingly infuriated by his mother's dishonesty, intervened. Mom. If you can borrow money from her, then see how you can get the money to pay her. I know she's also a businesswoman. Her money is still circulating. Why do you borrow money randomly like that? I've told you already. You shouldn't borrow money from other people. After borrowing, you won't have money to pay. I've told you so many times, but you don't listen. You can't borrow money. His frustration was a mix of anger at her deception and wariness at her chronic irresponsibility. The family's precarious economic situation, dependent on the ebb and flow of small business, could not withstand such reckless borrowing. The deeper shame was then revealed. No wonder I bought a dress a few days ago and went in there to brag that I've made a lot of money lately. It turns out I borrowed money from this woman. I've lost to you, Mom. I've told you not to borrow money anymore. What will you use to pay back later? I've told you so many times, but you don't listen. The daughter-in-law goes to work to earn money to buy makeup for her mother. Hang's disappointment was profound. His mother's vanity, her desire for an outward display of wealth, had led her deeper into debt, ironically funded by her own deception. Mrs. Hang pressed on, determined to expose the truth. I also thought that you were a neighbor and acquaintance, so I was not allowed to do the paperwork. Now you are turning around and saying that you are not allowed to borrow from me. You clearly said that you would borrow for 2 or 3 days, then you gave me the principal and interest. You took it and let your daughter-in-law invest in